Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of Art Side of Life, where I chat with inspiring artists and create various art-related videos. My name is Eva and my guest today is Aiman Akhtar, and in this episode you will learn about building and marketing your own project and his interesting way of thinking about networking and opportunities.
The more I networked, the more contacts I made, the more opportunities started circling around me. And the way I think of opportunities is that they're kind of like planets. Like you're a planet, there's like another planet that comes by and it swings by. And if you miss it the first time, it's all right, because it's going to come right by again next year and again. And the more you circle, the more, you start seeing the opportunities and you start analyzing the patterns and understanding, oh, I know when to grab this.
Aiman is a freelance 3D artist who specializes in character development and 3D print design. Before he started his career in entertainment design in LA, he worked in advertising industry in Chicago with brands like Harley Davidson and Hodl.com. In LA, he has worked with companies such as Method Studios, Nickelodeon, and others. He's also writing about 3D printing for 3D World magazine. In December 2017, he successfully funded his toy line called Fungisaurs on Kickstarter, building the whole universe around this cute hybrid of dinosaur and mushroom. So please welcome Aiman Akhtar and let's get to the interview. Welcome everyone to the next episode of Art Side of Life, and I'm super happy to have Aiman here. Hi!
Hey, how's it going, Eva?
Perfect. I'm super happy that you took time from your busy schedule and joined us here. And let's just dive into your background and how you start with art. Have you always knew that you wanted to be in design and art?
Good question. So since I was about 13 and I saw Jurassic Park, probably that started it for me. Went to see the movie probably 100 times. And I've always kind of wanted to do something in art. And at the end of high school, I decided it was 3D animation, 3D sculpture primarily. That's what I wanted to really get into. So I went to college for that. I went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago and just tried to pick up as many skills I could, eat up as much as knowledge as I could. And then when I got out, I just kept learning. And it's been almost 10 years in the industry now.
Oh, wow. And so how did you approach learning when you get out of the school? Was it like YouTube, or did you buy books, or learning from others? Did you have a mentor?
So no one mentor per se, but I tried to, there's so much knowledge on the internet now. So you can take it in from YouTube, you can take it in from online classes. I did a bunch of those. So I primarily do a lot of 3D. So for that, you can find resources on ZBrush Central. There's a lot of great, sculpting tutorials. And then ZBrush workshops, Mold 3D Academy, CG Society. There's a lot of really great resources, and I just kind of kept taking tutorials with all the people that I admired in the industry, and then you just slowly become friends, and it's really cool to see now, like I'm teaching in some of those courses myself now.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so where can people find you? Where are your courses, if you can mention, like if they want to learn from you?
Sure. I teach 3D printing on mold3d.com, so Mold 3D Academy.
Oh, yeah. Very nice. Yeah. And so if you can mention which were the biggest turning points for you? There was the school studying, and what was the really big decision, or maybe something you had to do in order to get where you're now?
Sure. So I think the biggest decision for me was making the jump from Chicago to Los Angeles, where I'm now. And so I went to school in Chicago and I got into the industry there. I graduated in 2008. Which I'm not sure if your readers know was the middle of a really big recession here in the States and worldwide. Horrible time to graduate. So a bunch of my friends went into grad school, or they went into just, continuing studies, but I tried to make it in the industry. And in Chicago, that meant you had to know how to model, texture, rig, light, animate, do some JavaScript encoding, put some effects, throw it on the website. Because in a city like that, they want you to be able to do everything. They expect you to be a generalist artist. And that was really great for me. And just learning how to do every part of the process. I learned everything on the job. So all the time it was, and I'm sure most freelancers are familiar with this, where someone will call you and be like, hey, we need someone to do this. Do you know how? And you go, yeah, totally. And then you just Google and figure it out, That was the first 4 years of my career in Chicago. So that was really the what taught me everything. It was a lot of advertising and pharmaceutical work. I got to work on Harley Davidson for 2 years, so that was really exciting. Just basically made bikes in 3D. All the commercials you see with Harley Davidson bikes, they're always 3D because it's so much cheaper to hire 3D artists and make the bikes look pretty rather than assemble them in a particular configuration, put them on a truck, get them out on location, wait for the weather to be good, and then shoot the photo. So we did a lot of 3D stuff. I think I built like 56 bikes with a couple of other guys. So it was a lot of fun. But then Chicago was a bit stifling for me creatively because it was all advertising. And we used to joke that advertising is like creating tomorrow's trash today. No one really cares about your work or has an emotional attachment with what you've created the moment it's published. It's out. And so what I wanted to do is do some kind of storytelling or do something that people could, again, have an emotional connection to. So I moved to Los Angeles 3 years ago. I left the Harley job. I left the studio I was working at. I came down to California. I didn't know many people, so it was kind of scary. So like you said, that was the big turning point. And I really wanted to do entertainment. So I wanted to do toys, animation, games. And when I came down, for the first month, I just decided to road trip across California. I called up all of my friends that were here, some I hadn't spoken to for 8 years or more, and I said, hey, I'm coming over. Can I stay at your place and explore the neighborhood? And everyone was really welcoming. For a month, I traveled through San Francisco, San Jose, Los Angeles, San Diego, and I ended up in Los Angeles because there was just the most opportunities to cost ratio was the best for me. And since then, it's just been, getting myself out there. And do you want me to keep going on this topic?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting for people if you move to like LA, like, okay, how do you make the first contact maybe? And how do you find the first paid job? Actually, that might be even more like, oh, okay, so how do I do that? Okay, I move somewhere and then what?
Absolutely. So I wouldn't recommend moving here without some sort of foothold. I was insane. And it was hard. The first year just sucked because I didn't know anyone. And so it was a lot of networking. I went to the CTN Animation Expo. The Gnomon School is here, so GNOMON, MAN. And I went to all of their events. They put on a ton of events where they, have artists from the industry come and then give talks and demos and ZBrush workshops. Every event I could go to, every gallery opening or like Naughty Dog is now displaying their work at this gallery. So I showed up there. And I tried to meet the artists. I tried to friend them. And like I said, first year, really tough. Didn't know anyone. I barely got a couple of gigs, mostly off-site, working for clients back in Chicago. And then the more I networked, the more contacts I made, the more opportunities started circling around me. And the way I think of opportunities is that they're kind of like planets. Like you're a planet, there's like another planet that comes by and it swings by. And if you miss it the first time, it's all right because it's going to come right by again next year and again. And the more you circle, the more, you start seeing the opportunities and you start analyzing the patterns and understanding, oh, I know when to grab this. And so then the second year and the third year, since I've been here, I've worked at 7 different studios. So it was just a matter of time and luck, as well as just constantly being out there. The thing that I recommend is that you don't just sit and apply for jobs. You have to go out there. You have to show people, hey, this is what I want to do. And if there's any job you want in a specific industry, you have to demonstrate you can do quality work at that level. What that means is, say I'm making the switch from advertising to animation and toys and games, I have to show people that I can do animation and toys and games. I can't just come here with the advertising portfolio and get the jobs. I was able to get VFX, like film, commercial, and previs jobs with my commercial reel. But when I came here, then I started making toys. I got a 3D printer. I started prototyping, and I went to...
So you have also like a physical prototypes, not only like a 3D on your website, and also the toys. Okay.
Yeah. So if you want to get into toys, for example, you have to show Hasbro, DC, Mattel. You have to show them you can make toys. So you have to show the physical prototypes. You can do slicing, keying, articulation. And only then will they start saying, hey, that guy knows everything. Let's hire him.
And when
Yeah.
you were meeting people on these events, so you had online portfolio, or did you have also something printed out, or the
Generally, the
physical
fastest
toys?
way is just you have your iPad or your phone, and then you go look, 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 and then that's it. And then that's how you start the conversation. I never really approached anyone saying I was looking for work. That's the mistake a lot of people tend to do is like, hey, look at my stuff. I'm looking for work. I always say, hey, if you have a minute, check out my website or, take a look at this and let me know what you think. Look for feedback. And when you look for feedback, it's easier because your expectations aren't crazy high. You're just saying, just let me know what you think. Is this good or what kind of stuff would you like to see more for this industry? And then no one has a problem just going tap, 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 click, seeing your stuff and then writing a quick email. That's very easy for people to do. And so I got feedback from tons of people. And what that does is it opens a door. It basically gets you a new contact, and it's on you to stay in touch. So I switched gears from trying to apply for jobs. And rather than that, I just stay in touch with people. So every month or every 2, 3 months, I'm not annoying. Every few months, I'll get back in touch with people and say, hey, check this out. I updated my website, or I made this new artwork, or check out this cool project I just finished, or I finished this commercial, so check this out. And that way you kind of build a relationship with people. They're invested in you. They care about you. They see your progress. And when they see you improve, like from here to there over the course of a year or two, then they go, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. And he seems like he's not pardon my language. And he seems like he's, a good team player. And so then they call you before they post the job online. Yeah. Because as soon as the job opening comes up, you're already water cooler conversation. Yeah. They're like, I know a guy who's really good at toys. And so then they call me directly before having to, post it online and then fight through 700 job interviews.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And so when you were building up your portfolio and showing it to people, the advertising stuff you put away.
I tended to, put it in the back. Like I would maybe start with, so this is what I did for the past 5 years, but this is what I want to do.
Oh, okay. Nice. So how many pieces did you have? Because like when you just move from advertising and it's like, okay, now I want to do toys, and like, of course it takes some time. So when you have like 3 concepts, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I should have more. So
So you can start with a really small portfolio. You don't need to show a lot of stuff. A lot of people make the mistake of showing too much, and then they start leaking some not good stuff in there. So for the advertising portfolio, it was like 10 images, and I'd worked on over 100, so it was hard to pick and narrow down. And then for toys and animation, I didn't really have a lot of professional work to show in that regard. So the way I did it was I went to CTN Animation Expo, and I approached a whole bunch of 2D artists that I admire, all character designers like Steven Silver, Chris Ayers, Daniel Arriaga. And I just started a conversation with them, and it said, hey, I'm looking to build my portfolio, and I'm looking to build a new business in which I would do development work. So I would take the 2D drawings you guys have of your awesome characters for animation, and I would make 3D sculpts of them. So I'll just do it for free for you guys. Let's just partner together on a collaboration, and I'll make a toy based on your design, and then we'll put it on the site and see if anyone wants to buy it. And of the 20 or so artists I approached, 10 of them were like, yeah, let's do it. Oh, and nice. So I got to work with, really high caliber artists like Steven Silver, Chris Ayers, and I made 3D printed statues of all of their stuff. Would you like to see some?
Yeah, of course, show us.
So here is a statue that I made with Chris Ayers.
And for people listening, it's an elephant.
It's an elephant superhero, yeah. You can see all of these samples I'm showing Eva on my website, aiman3d.com.
Perfect.
And here's a boxer that I did with Steven Silver.
Oh, awesome. I love how he's like so buff that he maybe cannot even walk.
Yep, skipping leg day for sure. So, and these were like, unpainted gray statues, like all 6 inches tall or so. And it was because of the 3D printer I got at the time, it kind of enabled me to start my own production. Like I didn't need to go to a factory. I could just make sculptures in ZBrush, prepare them for print, and then print them out. So it kind of made me a one-man production factory. So I could approach artists and do development with them. and have a sample right away, like within a few weeks. So after CTN in 2015, I think within like 2 months, I made like 6 different samples. So it was a lot of sculpting. And after that, you just kind of, get a reputation. A few of those artists' works got picked up, like the boxer I did with Steven Silver here. A Chinese company saw it at the San Diego Comic-Con, and they decided to make, 1,500 of them. So they partnered with us to make a factory production of our toy that we just came up with. And then there just weren't that many people that knew 3D printing in Los Angeles. So I started getting calls from companies. Alliance Studios called to work on their Overwatch project, which was giant 12-foot tall statues. And then stop motion animation, then I started doing 3D printing for Stupid Buddy Studios. So again, like really small scale puppets for stop motion animation. And again, 3D printing wasn't something that a lot of people could do. So it just happened to be a good timing and a good fit for my skills.
So how did you find out that this would be a good fit for you, to buy the 3D printer? Is like if the investment is worthy, because of course this costs money. And then like if you don't have side job, it's like, okay, is it something which will pick up? Or did you do research? There is not so much 3D at the time. I mean, 3D printing?
Absolutely. So I did a lot of research. The printers are very expensive. They still are about $3,000 or so for these printers, like the high quality stuff. But for me, I knew I wanted to get into toys and animation. And so it seemed like a good alternative for me. And also, I'm a 3D modeler. There's lots and lots of 3D modelers, just like there's, for example, lots of concept artists or 2D artists. So how do you stand out from the crowd? Yeah. And for me, the thought was, let's go ahead and look to what technologies are on their way that aren't necessarily here yet. And so, virtual reality, 3D printing, these are technologies that are kind of still just building. And that's why I thought, let's become really good at those. And when you do that, then you stand out from all the other professionals that are just as good as you, but then they don't know this new technology or they don't have this new skill set. And that is what led to all the opportunities for me, just having the skill set at the right time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's a really good approach, because I think Gary Vee says that all the time, like, oh, find a new social media platform, like that's the one to grow at. But now like Instagram is super oversaturated as well. And so, and so your networking was mainly events, or did you do promotion on social media as well, mostly?
It was a lot of events, but I tried to keep a regular posting schedule on forums. Like ZBrush Central, like Facebook forums, like 10,000 Hours, and Lunch Crunch was a big one at the time. And just constantly showing my work. Like personally, like even if you don't want to show your work as an artist, it's your job. You have to get it out there in front of people. So even if you're not super happy with something, just post it, and it's hard to find time to work. That's the main thing when you're working on, professional projects. You're doing something all day, then you come home and you work. But that's how you kind of set yourself apart again. It's just do it consistently.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And how did you then manage your time? Did you plan daily, or did you plan like for a week or month? Like how many hours a day you like are at work? Then something maybe to rewind, then just relax sometimes.
Sure. No, that's a great question. Time planning is the hardest thing, especially with artists. We kind of hermits, where we kind of go into our room and just want to work away on something. But it's really tough. I would have loved to have a more regular schedule, like daily planning or weekly planning, but it was always just a month goal for me. Like, hey, this month I want this month I want that. And the way I was able to set that up was back in 2015, I got a contract with 3D World magazine. It's a UK publication, and I was tasked with doing a 3D printing column for that. And I didn't even have a 3D printer at this time, but I had done a few 3D prints that were picked up. And so I said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Every month I'll write a new article on a new kind of 3D printing project, and then I'll, write about it. And I had never done this before. So every month I decided, okay, this month I'm going to make a 3D printed accessory, like a phone case. And then I did it by the end of the month, and I wrote an article on it. Next month, a bobblehead. Next month, articulated toy. Next month, jewelry. And next month, wearables, like glasses and such. So every month I kind of trained myself to deliver one project per month and then write about it. And over the course of the year, then I had like, 10 or so solid projects that, I could add to my portfolio. And I had a whole, a habit now of delivering one thing per month. So that just kind of helped me continue.
Yeah, so it's also a good split because I guess it was paid as well. So like income
Yeah,
plus project building. So that's kind of good
exactly.
combination.
That's the best combination. When you can have someone else pay for your learning is the ideal.
Yeah, definitely. That's perfect. But okay,
Yeah.
so how did they find you? Was it social media? Because you are not in UK, right? So how
Good
was
point.
that getting in touch?
So I had a few posts that kind of went viral online where I did this post of kind of dinosaurs chasing me and my wife during our wedding. It was a bunch of T-Rexes that I composited in 3D. I sculpted them, and they were like chasing us down while we were running for our lives. And that blew up on Reddit. It was like the number one post for like a few days. And 3D World magazine contacted me to write about for me to write about my process for that. And so I did. I wrote about like how I sculpted these T-Rexes, rigged them, animated them kind of in position, and did this whole still that kind of blew up. And so from then I had the contact of the editor. And so I just contacted him back every time I did some cool new project. Hey, I made this cool like 3D print for me and my wife, like a little cake topper for our wedding. And I was like, do you want me to write a story on like 3D printing and cake toppers? And he was like, yeah, that's great. Write that story. And then that story got good reception. So from there, it just kind of snowballed. So
Okay.
press helps. Yeah.
And so, for example, if you do something like this promotional project at the beginning, do
Yeah.
you ask for compensation or the first one you do for free? Or what would you
Generally
recommend maybe for starting people? For
when
starting
you're
artists?
starting something and you don't have a lot of samples, you almost always have to work for free just to basically convince people to partner, or just say 50-50 collaboration split, and then we'll split the profits 50-50 and see what happens. Most people are open to giving you feedback and open to you doing your work and then just sharing a profit with them 50-50. Almost everyone is down for that kind of thing.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice. And so,
Yeah.
how did you get to where you are now, like producing your own toys? Where the idea came from, or did you partner with someone and just like all of
Sure.
that story?
No, I'd love to tell that story. So I've been working professionally in Los Angeles for about 3 years now, and 7 different studios over the past couple of years, just bouncing around. A lot of work is freelance, so I have time on my hands when I'm not working. So I thought, let's build something of our own. When I say our, I mean me and my wife. We collaborated together on making a toy line and just putting it out there. Like I said, what started it all for me was Jurassic Park, and I've always been interested in dinos. So I thought, okay, I love dinosaurs. What else is pretty interesting? And I found a mushroom hunting catalog when we were going on our trips. Since moving to Los Angeles, we were constantly traveling around, exploring the national parks nearby.
Oh, that's nice.
And so we picked up this mushroom hunting catalog, and I thought, well, let's try to learn about identifying different species of mushrooms because they're just so cool looking. They're just so interesting and fascinating shapes, and like the form and like the volumes and colors, just the massive variety of them. So I thought this is a cool subject matter. So I started looking at the different mushrooms in the wild, and then on our way back from Yosemite, we stopped at an In-N-Out burger, which is the birthplace of all great ideas.
Of course, yeah.
Once you have a good meal and you're happy, things start clicking. So yeah, we went to Yosemite, we stopped at In-N-Out Burger, and I had my mushroom hunting catalog in one hand, and In-N-Out gave us some dinosaur stickers, and again, dinosaurs again. So I had these two things in my hands, and I had a sketchbook, so I just started combining the two. I just started drawing some ideas of what dinosaur mushroom hybrids would look like, and so Fungisaurs was born. These little dinosaur mushroom hybrids. And I'll show you some on the screen for those of you guys who have YouTube. There's a little toy. It's a Dimetrodon mixed with a turkey tail mushroom.
Oh, beautiful. The mushroom actually looks like that colorful?
Yeah, it really looks like that.
Wow, that's amazing.
Here's a really iconic one, like the Mario mushroom. And it's a mix with a Parasaurolophus, so we call it Paradots.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it. And he can hide in between the mushrooms, right?
Exactly. So I just came up with this line of dinosaur mushroom hybrids, and we made little tiny ones, 3 inches tall. And I have my own 3D printer, so I was able to prototype a whole toy line. I made like 8 different versions. went to a friend to help paint them, Elvin Rodriguez. He is a great painter. So he hand airbrushed and painted all of these samples. And then we had 8 toys, and we said, okay, let's put them out in the world and see what happens. So we went to Designer Con Toy Expo in Pasadena. It's a yearly, really big toy expo with like 400 different toy creators from all over the world that come. And so we just got a table, and then we put our Fungisaurs out there. And we made the banner. My wife, she made all the design and branding for the brand. So she did the website. She did little trading cards. We did like a bunch of really cool stickers, like things like that. And then when we went to Designer Con, we didn't know what would happen. We were just selling unpainted 3D prints and had the colored samples there just so people could see what they could look like. And it went really well. Like we sold out of a bunch of them, and a lot of people came and said they wanted the colored painted versions. And so, that expo last year made me decide, all right, now that gives me one more year to come up with a way to have a full factory mass-produced line that's all, toys that are, mass-produced and painted and in a box. So that's what we spent this year on. Fa and I, we continued our marketing. We continued development. I made more, Fungisaurs. I changed the sculpt so that they'd be more factory friendly, learned about injection molding, things like that.
Yeah, you need to simplify a lot.
Simplified a lot. I wanted to make them more appealing and cutesy, not just creepy. So the toys themselves are really appealing. They're just a simple concept. But then I also thought, let's make a backstory with this. Let's try to make this a whole world. Where did these creatures come from, and how? What are they doing now? And so we actually put together a small team. We found people to do voice acting for us. A friend of mine, Megan, did some amazing voice acting. We found people to do audio. Our friend Kat kind of did a whole score and sound effects. And we animated a 3-minute short on Fungisaurs, like where they came from. So we made an animation. We started, we had the whole toy line in production. We developed a box. Let me show you the box here. So again, for those of you that have screen on YouTube, you can kind of see we designed our own little prototype box.
Oh, they're so cool.
Yeah, and then like just these little mystery boxes. And you can see kind of all the different species of Fungisaurs on there.
Oh, nice. So there is one, right, in this box?
Yeah, so there's one per box, and it's kind of a mystery box collectible, meaning that you don't know which one you're going to get. And so it's a small enough price point where you want to get a few and then collect them all. And so, over the course of the year, we just kind of built this brand and launched a Kickstarter for it like a month ago. So we're still in the middle of a Kickstarter right now.
Yeah, so unfortunately, when the interview will be out, it will be over, but then people can find it on your website, and we will put the link so everyone can check it out. And going back to the project, is there something you wish you knew before you started, like either moving to LA and just starting the whole toy kind of industry art career, or just before just doing this project?
Before launching this Kickstarter and this Fungisaurs project, I wish I had known how much marketing was involved in launching a product, launching a toy line. There's so much prep work you have to do. You need a whole marketing strategy in place in order to get your thing in front of the world. And that's one thing we didn't do. So it was a lot of, hustle on when our first Kickstarter launched. And that's what happens when you, as an artist, do a Kickstarter launch for the first time ever. You learn, oh my God, there's so much work. And so I wish I had known how much marketing work was involved, so I could have done this, a few months in advance. Like reach out to press, reach out to reporters and different magazines and publications, and try to get it in front of people. That's been our main challenge. I think I'm really happy with what we've created. The toys are awesome. Everyone that sees them loves them, and the animation's great. The game, we actually got together with a friend and made a little augmented reality mobile game too. So we created something really cool, and it was just getting it in front of people. That's the challenge. Yeah.
And so what was your kind of like star strategy in marketing? What was the best from all the things what you did?
for Kickstarters, I'd recommend the best thing is to just create a big newsletter kind of email list and then email everyone you know. Like that helps the most more than anything else because majority of my Kickstarter, and it's almost fully funded, was funded by friends, family, and other artists, either people that I'd collaborated with or people that like what I'm making. And so most of my target audience, which is, kids like 7 to 15-year-old, I wasn't able to reach most of those because it's hard if you don't get the press and if you don't get the build up and if you don't get it in front of people. It's not really your target. Your target is all of your friends and family and the people that want to see you succeed because this is the start of something. So the Kickstarter isn't the end, it's the beginning of a product, it's the launch. So you have all the time in the world now to kind of build on it. Like I want to turn this thing into an animated TV series, pitch it around. I want to turn it into like an actual fully made mobile game, some virtual reality experiences, even in a movie. Why not? You don't know until you do it, if you can.
Yeah, definitely. Because also the toy market is quite saturated. To get it in front of the people, it's difficult. But yeah, if you are in the center of the animation and all art industry, definitely to create the whole universe, that would be amazing.
Yeah, why not? It's actually really easy to market toys once you have the toys. But since everything in Kickstarter, since everything in Kickstarter is pre-order, it's very hard to kind of get it in front of people. So that's one main challenge, is that's one good thing with the 3D printer. I was able to make a lot of toys, but I can't really send it to YouTubers to make unboxing videos, or I can't, things like that. Like it's hard when you don't have a lot of product. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And so when you started like the whole art career, have you ever felt lost, or did you have like struggles like, okay, what do I do next? And like, was this a good choice to be in the art industry, or something like that never happened to you?
Almost constantly. I mean, no artist I know is sure of how good they are and sure they're doing the right thing. Everyone is just confused, and everyone is taking it day by day. You constantly get new opportunities being presented to you. And the one thing you have to learn, the more you progress as an artist, is how to say no to things. You have to say no to your friends or family, or no to your every opportunity that comes up, because you have to say, well, this rate sucks. It doesn't actually pay me for the time that I am going to be putting into it. And it doesn't help me get to where I want to be in my career. So you have to learn how to say no to a lot of things. My career, I started as a 3D modeler, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a 3D modeler for characters for things like Pixar, Disney, DreamWorks, and it's still in progress. It'll happen one day, but I'm not in a rush to make it happen. There's so many other cool things to experience while that's happening. So last year, again, I got to work on my first animated series, and I got to work on giant size sculptures, and like now I have my own development business where I work with artists to make lots of sculpts. So it's really fun for me. I kind of, made my dream happen just by doing it, through hard work and putting it in front of people over and over and over again, and having a reputation as being someone who is a professional, fun to work with, and delivers. And that kind of is the, way you can make things happen, just consistency.
Yeah, so that you did also on the days when you were not super motivated, like, okay, I'll just like do something.
Oh yeah, because speaking as a 3D artist, you're constantly pulled into different directions, and some career choices you're questioning all the time, like, why am I trying to be a 3D modeler for characters when there's so much work for 3D modelers for environments? So maybe I should go make some environments and props, and then you're thinking about, maybe that's the career choice to get me into the industry. Or maybe I'll become a rigger, because I'm pretty good at that too, like making skeletons and controls for characters so they can move and animate. And there's more jobs for that. So maybe I should do what the industry wants and do that job. But then again, it doesn't give me the satisfaction at the end of the day to just be kind of, you're not really supposed to get satisfaction from your work. You're supposed to get satisfaction from personal work. So I do like, though, to be able to be doing something for work, which is personally satisfying. To the end of the day, I come home and go, I don't necessarily need to make personal artwork today, because the professional artwork I made at work today is exactly what I wanted to be doing. So I can just relax and watch some TV and just hang out, So you always have to be consistent with work, but yeah, it's a matter of picking and choosing what you want to do so that you're getting satisfied.
Yeah, yeah. But what are your thoughts on personal branding? Because when you're creating like the whole product, of course, there is like the branding like on its own. But when you
Yeah.
are just working on your own project as like illustrations or the 3D sculpting, so what are your thoughts on that?
So branding is really important. I feel like it's two halves of what make an artist. Part of it is your creative desire, your voice, and your style, and the other half is marketing and branding. So you have to make a website. You have to make a website. You have to have
Nobody.
business cards. You have to have a logo, maybe like a Facebook profile or an Instagram page where you share your work. It's not so much about your desire. It's about kind of an industry standard. People have to be able to see what you're doing in order to care about you. And so it's kind of your responsibility as an artist to do that. It's hard because most of us don't really know how to or want to, but I feel like that helped me to just constantly put my work out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with branding, your wife helped you, or did you
Oh,
do
absolutely.
research?
Yeah.
And yeah.
No, my wife helps a lot. Like, it's so great to be married to a graphic designer, art director, because I know nothing about color choices. I know nothing about like spacing and kerning and fonts and um, like so much stuff that she's proficient at. So she helped me really create a solid, consistent brand that's consistent across everything. My resume looks like my cover letter, looks like my website, looks like my business cards. Like that stuff is really important. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that's good. So people can research, or everyone from our audience, they can just either find some of my friends or something like that.
Well, easiest way, honestly, is to just look at what other artists are doing. Like, go
Yeah.
to my website, aiman3d.com. You can see what my branding looks like. Make a list of 10 to 20 artists that are working in the industry right now whose jobs you want. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Like, you get to know those 20 people. You can actually Facebook message them, LinkedIn request them, and they're very nice, friendly people. There's no harm in reaching out to them. You can take classes that they teach or go to presentations or workshops or lectures that they give. I've seen almost all of the artists that inspired me now in person. I've met almost all of them, just either through going to exhibitions or going to things like SIGGRAPH or CTN, or just me going to lectures that they give and going to their classes. And you see their branding and you go, that's what I want to emulate because that's where I want to get to. And then at a certain point, you start saying, no, I want to be better than them. And then you start coming up with your own ideas. So that's how you do it. You don't just sit around and wait and hope people notice you. By sending job applications, you go out there.
Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
good advice. Yeah, definitely. And let's talk about your future and maybe like what are your future plans? Like what would
Sure.
be in 5 to 10 years? What would be
Yeah.
your dream scenario? Like what are you working on and what's happening?
Yeah, so I'm a professional working in LA, so it's already a dream for a lot of people. But I'm freelance, so I choose what projects I want to work on. I'm going to continue doing that in the foreseeable future, just trying to work on more and more fun projects. Over this year now, I've signed up with DC Collectibles, with Hasbro, and Sideshow Collectibles as a sculptor. So I'm super excited to get the chance to work on their properties and work on stuff for them. And it's the unfortunate nature of this business. You don't get to show a lot of your work for a year or 2 or 3 years after it
Or
comes out.
never.
Or never. Yeah, a lot of projects get canceled, which is the worst. But it's really satisfying to just kind of reach out to people and have a portfolio where they can take one look and see, oh, you've worked on this. Oh, you're great. Come work for this for us. And so my plans for the next 5 to 10 years are to continue hustling in LA, freelancing, trying to work on every possible project that interests me, try to get better in learning about animation and toys. That's kind of my main focus. But if Fungisaurs takes off, I'd rather, just have someone give me a bunch of money and make my own game and animation. Why not? Try that. Try to become an animation director if that works out.
Yeah, that would be good if you could like get a sponsor and then you can build your own team and create the Fungisaurs, like the whole universe, like a Disneyland.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, like, take Rovio, for example, with Angry Birds. They made like 200 games before Angry Birds took off.
Yeah,
but then when
true.
Angry Birds took off, it really took off. Like, now they have theme parks in China. They've got like, every kind of possible product that you can license. And that would be the dream for an artist, is to kind of make something. Like I said, originally what got me started was to make something and tell stories that kind of had an emotional connection with people. So that's what I want to do. I want to be a storyteller, try to reach people with interesting stories that only I can tell, or that I can tell because of my perspective as an immigrant, as someone who's been to many parts of the world. So something like that I'd love to share with the world.
So where are the biggest influences from the world to your storytelling?
Oh man, everywhere I travel to. Like, I feel like everyone in the world has to try to visit India or Japan or Brazil once in their life if they can, just because you see things that you don't see where you're normally living. Like, travel has a big impact on me and my art. Like, India, for example, is just filled to the brim with people, and there's really, really rich with really, really poor right next to each other. And you just see the masses of humanity in like the slums of India or Rio, but they seem happy. They seem more content than a lot of people in first world countries, just because they kind of have their own sense of purpose. And it's really refreshing to see how people make a living day to day. And then you go to somewhere like Japan, and it's just so strange. Like, it's like no other place in the world. You're just constantly overwhelmed by different kinds of stimuli than you would have, like, say, I'm in America. There's nothing like it, Yeah. So travel definitely, I feel, inspires artists a lot.
Yeah. I totally agree. Japan was totally something else when I also went to see. So, and even like road signs were cute, which was kind of strange.
Yeah. They have like their manhole covers, their sewer covers have cute little characters on them.
Faces and stuff. Exactly. And so, and my last question actually to you would be about the far future, and I would like to know, what would you like to be remembered for in like 100 years or more, if we are not flying on like drones, or I don't know.
That's a good question. I mean, legacy or glory is kind of an important thing to being an artist. What are you going to be remembered for? I feel like it matters to me, not as much as it would matter to others. But right now, my focus is so much on the craft and becoming as good at the craft as I can, and then now telling the stories I want to tell. So that kind of supersedes everything about what I want to be remembered as. Because right now I'm in the process of telling the stories, of making everything. Also just doing the work. I want to just learn and sponge in as much as I can. So at this phase of my life, I just turned 30. So for me, the next 10 years or so are just about working in the industry, working on films, working on animation, working on toys, and doing it. The next phase, probably like when I'm turning 40, 50, 60, and then I'll start thinking more about what I want to be remembered for. And then I'll start trying to, tell more stories, I guess I imagine, and try to make my own brand. If I could be remembered for Fungisaurs forever, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So let's build a strong brand, and we can spread the word about the super cool story. That would be super nice.
Exactly.
And before we say goodbye, maybe you can share like key takeaway or like last piece of advice, and then we will slowly finish.
Sure. Okay. If I could give people some advice as far as starting your own art careers, professionally speaking, and starting your own brands, personally speaking, be comfortable wearing a lot of hats and being able to do lots of different jobs. You're going to need to learn about social media, about marketing. You're going to need to learn about legalities like filing trademarks and patents. You're going to need to learn about doing taxes and accounting and having a business. And all of that has nothing to do with art, and that you're still going to have to keep pursuing your skills and craft and making art. So you have to just be comfortable wearing lots and lots of different hats and doing all the different jobs. And then speaking for professionally, if you want to get to a certain level, you have to find the people that are already at that level, emulate them, and try to make work that matches their level. And then only then will your work really start to shine. And if you want to work professionally in a specific place, like say Disney or DreamWorks or Blizzard or Riot, or really it doesn't matter what the company, if you want to work there, you have to make work that looks like their work. And that really helps. You can make, if you want to work for Blizzard and you make a lot of stuff that looks like Blizzard stuff, then you'll get a chance. You'll get an interview. If your quality is up that high, you'll get it. But if you keep making really realistic work that doesn't match his Blizzard style, then you're not, So you really have to know what you're going for. And then the third thing is try, if you can, to move to where the opportunities are. I know this is really hard for a lot of people, especially like visa requirements, and it's really hard to get to different places. And this might not matter in 10 to 20 years because so much work is becoming virtual, like you can do so much off-site now, and in the future with virtual reality and stuff, I imagine there won't be traditional offices. But for right now, if you want to work at big companies, try to move to those cities where the big companies are. It helps, and it's hard and it's tough to manage, and it's going to suck for the first year. But I promise you, if you keep working at it, it'll happen. I'm not special. I'm not luckier than anyone else. I just happen to be hardworking and consistent, and if you put yourself in the right place, opportunities keep coming up.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, because if you know what you want to do, then you can adjust to it and just work on it every day, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Amazing. And thank you so much again for being here and sharing your artistic story.
Oh, thank you for having me, Eva. This was a great conversation.
Oh, thank you so much again. And thanks everyone who joined, and see you in the next interview.
Yeah. Cheers.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe because I post new videos every week. I will be also super happy if you let me know your thoughts in comments and give the video a thumbs up. You can find all the resources mentioned in this episode at artsideoflife.com. Just type a guest name in the search bar. There is also a couple of free artist resources ready for you. So if you want to listen to the interviews on the go too, make sure to check out the podcast at artsideoflife.com/podcast. Continue to inspire each other, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye!